Okay, we are recording this. Hope that's all right with everyone. And the reason for that, of course, is to make sure that if you need to go back on anything, you have a record of it. But also in case anyone misses any part of this, you will be able to listen to it. So we will come in a moment to the help desk and where you can find all of these things, but everything from this training will be available. So we've just done a brief round of introductions. Delighted to be joined by such a strong team from Flow Communications based in South Africa. As they mentioned, they are mostly journalists by profession, which is great because it means they really understand what we're trying to achieve here, which is to package our messages in ways that have an impact. They will be our main facilitators throughout this training, and you will have met through the chat flow grantees of the Voice and Choice Fund, and I'll have more to say about them as I go through this. So I'm going to give a very quick background to the fund. I'm going to just use this space and platform to make a quick plea around some of our monitoring and evaluation. Sorry to pinch the space a bit, but it's rare that we have everyone around the table. So monitoring and evaluation communications, by the way, very much go together because one is the flip side of the coin to the other. We're going to talk about the objectives of this training. I'm going to give you a very quick overview of the program. You've all seen it in great detail, but I'll just give you a bird's eye view of what will happen over the next 6 days. We'll talk a bit about documentation and where you'll find that. And then I want to talk about our main output from this training, which will be joint campaigns, and particularly the prize that you can work towards next Monday, which is a very exciting part of what we will be doing. I'll also talk about the online forms that we need to fill in, and in particular, the form that we need to fill in today, which is around our registration, so we know who's here, and crucially how to divide you into work groups from the outset. I'm getting a very funny buzz in the background. Nomti, is it possible to mute everyone other than myself? That's better, thank you. So very quickly, the Voice and Choice Southern Africa Fund was established under Amplify Change, who I'm sure you're all aware of, a fund based in the UK with several back donors, including people like the Danida and others. Here in Southern Africa, it's managed by Gender Links through the Gender Links Sustainability Hub grant making unit. And in a nutshell, it is a fund to break the silence on sexual reproductive health and rights. We presently have 38 grantees in 2 categories: the movement building, these are the larger grants, and there are 9 of those in 8 SADC countries, and the opportunity grants, which are the smaller grants, and these are concentrated in just 3 countries: South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Lesotho. But all in all, and you can see there's some overlap between those grants, we are in 8 of the 16 SADC countries, which means about half of the SADC countries. Quick recap of where we've come from. We finished the contracting late last year. You all received funds, certainly by early this year, for you to begin to do your work. We have 2 years in this first phase of the fund to implement the very exciting projects that you are working on. And we should right now be in the process of implementing that. And I'm going to say a word or two about the monitoring and evaluation, because we see through our tracking sheet what sort of events you've had already, how many people have attended, etc. And we can tell from that that work is already underway. We had some training around M&E in the earlier part of the year online, and we also did finance training, virtual, and in the case of the movement building grantees, your finance people joined us in Johannesburg in late February for some slightly more in-depth training around finance. We also had one-on-one sessions with all of the grantees, with various staff of GenLinks, your program partners, to work on your results framework so that we could be absolutely clear what it is you're doing and hope to achieve over the next 2 years. Your first reports to us will be due in July, but our second report already to our backdoor and amplified change is due at the end of April. So if we're pushing you a little bit around your work, the monitoring and so on, bear with us, because in order for us to sustain the funding, we have to report as accurately as possible on what is happening. And for that, of course, we need our M&E data. So just before this training, I sent out an email to all of you, just reminding you about the Genlinks and Partner Events form, on which you've all had training, to ask you to please fill that in and give us some idea of what you're doing already. So I want to share with you the latest results on that, because on one hand, they're quite encouraging, but on the other hand, some of you have still not reported. So happy to say that out of the opportunity grantees whom we have, at least 10 or 12 of you have been using that form and have been able to report 29 different events that have happened already since January, which is, of course, amazing. And almost 2,000 people have somehow been reached in that work that you have done. So, you know, that's really great, and good news also for the communications training. However, on the opportunity side, there are a number of you, and we've divided this into countries. By the way, you will have access to this PowerPoint as well, from whom we have received no entries as yet. That could be because you haven't done any activities yet, fair enough, but we would be expecting that at least by now you would have done something. And so if the challenge is around filling out the form, Fanwal is with us on the line. He's our M&E manager and is very much available to assist you should you need that. But we're a bit worried that we haven't had any entries yet from these organizations that you see in my slide. That's with the opportunity grants. With the movement building, we have had 4 events and close to 75 different people participating in those events from 3 out of the 9 organizations. So thank you to those who have filled in, but I also want to just flag that we have not had entries from these 6 organizations here. So we will be tracking this, and we would hope, literally day by day, we're going to track it. We would hope that by tomorrow, these numbers will have gone up very considerably, because we are in the process of doing our second report for Amplified Change due at the end of April. So we desperately need all this information. Now, to the subject of the day, the communications training. When I briefed you all in February, we mapped out a calendar for the year, and we said April is a month of resurrection and renewal and of fresh thinking, and what a good time to do the communications training. We missed the Easter weekend, of course, so that we didn't get caught up in that, and this training is running now this week of the 17th, which is a full week, and spilling over into early next week. Media, social media, networking, joint campaigns is the big theme for us in April. We pointed out that you all now have a presence on the Genlinks website. You can find yourselves there. The Movement Building and Opportunity, go to the homepage of the Genlinks website, you'll see the Voice and Choice Fund, and you can link through to your type of grant and to the page that we have for you, including the social media handles that we have, and hopefully there'll be many more after the training this week. So what we'd like to do in these 6 days is to work together to make strategic use of social media and advancing key SRHR campaigns in Southern Africa, to foster learning, sharing, and collaboration among grantees through applied learning linked to key upcoming campaigns and dates. Always in the training that we do at Genlinks, there is always an output and an outcome, and we apply the training that we receive. So it's not just a nice to do, it's something that we will actually make use of and that will have some very tangible results. Among others, and I mentioned this in our February briefing, we're working towards our SADCProtocol Work Summit in the last quarter of 2023. And let me also flag here that we will have a social media component of that summit. In fact, I'm just coming out of a meeting earlier today on some of the partnerships that we hope to forge. and to really make that a big event, not just for this partnership, but bringing in other partners in the region to raise the bar on SRHR work in the SADC region. So this training is going to be such a key component of that and of raising our profile and of course our issues. So let's keep that in mind and let's be inspired about what we're doing, because there's lots of good things in store. So very briefly how the program will run, and again, you've seen the detail, but bird's eye view, this is what it looks like. Today, the facilitation team, Roy and Co, will be taking us through some fundamentals of communications, messaging, etc. We will also have an introduction to fundraising, and we will get into our groups on the different campaigns as well, so that we start from the word get-go to work together across boundaries and across themes to start planning those campaigns that we are going to be presenting next Monday. The program then breaks down into the different social media platforms, and again, through good advice from our facilitation team here, we're going to take these platforms one by one and really interrogate them in depth. How are we using them? How could we use them better? How can we combine these different tools to get better effects around our social media? So Tuesday will be Facebook and TikTok. We'll go on to Twitter on Wednesday. We'll have Instagram on Thursday. And then on Friday, I believe we look at LinkedIn and managing these multiple platforms and accounts and how we can do that more efficiently. And then we have the weekend in between for good reasons to give you a final chance to put your campaigns together. And once you've put those together, those will be presented next Monday, and a prize will be announced. I'll come in a moment, and we'll keep the prize to the end of this presentation, just to keep you in suspense a little bit. Now, in each of these sessions, there are a few recurrent themes that are important. First of all, you'll see that we've tried as far as possible, and we put out a call to say, who has case studies you want to share? We try as much as possible to have at least one case study for each of these platforms and for fundraising today, because we'd love to draw from your experience. And there's so much experience that all of us have that we can share, and then hopefully we will go on sharing. So the case study is very important. Thank you so much to all of you who already volunteered to share case studies. Having said that, I'm sure the facilitation team will also keep drawing. And Millie said this is going to be very interactive, and I'm sure it is. So if you don't have a prepared case study you share, certainly in the discussion in the chat, you'll be able to share other examples as we go through. I see that we have a lot of practical exercises, and that is very important in terms of the learning. We've also asked the facilitation team in each of these platforms to take us through the analytics. How do we get statistics on what we're doing? Earlier I was talking about M&D. There's brilliant M&D that we can do around social media because it's all very immediate. We just go to our analytics and we can get that, and what useful indicators for us to be able to show how we grow our reach using these modern tools. The other recurrent theme that you're going to find, and it starts today, is the fundraising, because each of these platforms can be used for fundraising. And so because fundraising is such an important part of what all of us do, is our bread and butter, we're going to run that theme through with all of the different platforms so that we can see how individually and collectively using those platforms we can hopefully raise some funds as well. So moving on to my next slide. All documents are on a link that has been provided to you on email, and it's also on this PowerPoint. Namti, can I suggest that you just share this link as well in the chat, just to make sure that everyone has it, yeah? Again, you can reach it very easily on the website by just going to the Voice and Choice page, and you'll see on that homepage of the Voice and Choice Fund, it says communications training is available on the following link. And when you go to that link, you will find that it is organized in terms of the forms we have to fill in terms of the program for the week, in terms of some key tools that will be useful to you, and then the different themes and campaigns that we're going to work on. So on one link, you literally have everything you need. Not all of that content is there because it's being built up as we go along, but let me assure you that on a day-by-day basis, we're going to be updating it. And by next Monday, you should have all the content that has come out of this course in one place on one link, and hopefully that will really assist us to be more efficient. There are some forms that we need to fill in, and most of these you received already as preparation for this training. The one I'm going to really emphasize for today is the registration form. It's a Google Doc that Maria put together for us. And I'm very happy to see, by the way, that many of you had already filled in this registration form before the training today. I'm going to emphasize that we must fill it in if we haven't already, and we'll allow a bit of time for that after my presentation to fill it in, because among others, it is that form that we will use to divide you into the groups for the group work that will happen towards the end of the session today. It is also ordered in the way in which we need to get our M&E data. So you'll see we ask you, you know, what your sex or gender identity is. We also ask you about your age and so on. And that's just to help us capture, you know, the sort of data on who is participating. So great to see that many of you got what we needed and have already filled it in, and it's that day. Then there's another form, again, you're going to find that on the link here, which is our contacts database. This is, we ask you to fill it in, your choice, obviously, but we encourage you to do so, because when you fill in this, your name and information go to our what we call GenderLinks General, so that you can receive any news shots that we have, mail shots that we get, and that gives us a way to keep in touch with you going forward. So that's our contacts database. There's a needs assessment that was sent out by Flo, a very short little form. I think some of you filled that in already, and it will have informed the training that our facilitators will be sharing. There's a form from Amplify Change around whether or not you're attending the Women Deliver conference. Again, have more to say about that in a moment. But Amplify Change will have a big presence at that conference in Kigali in July, and very keen to link up with grantees during that period. So if you are planning to attend, please do fill that in. And then finally, at the end of the week, we have the evaluation, at the end of Monday next week, we have the evaluation form. No need to fill that in yet, because that should be honest feedback around the training you'll have received. So that's the last one. Lots of forms there, but if we take them one by one, it should not be too onerous. And again, part of online learning and training is to learn how to use online forms. So we hope that it's a way of sharing useful information, but also useful exercise for us to do in this increasingly online world that we live in. These are the different categories that you will find that we have put you into, and this is based on your applications and our best reading of the work that you're doing to try to you know, put you into different theme groups. So that was shared with you ahead of the training, and we said if you're not happy with the category you've been put into and want to be put somewhere else, please let us know. We made those changes wherever we got them. But based on the information you've provided, these are the theme groups we will divide you into. Let me just say that all of these things, you know, overlap to some extent. We understand that, and many of you work on more than one theme, but just for convenience around organizing our joint campaigns, these are the categories that we came up with. And you will see in the registration form that we have linked you to a theme category as we had originally described. And we hope that that represents what you do and where you want to put your energy in the campaigns we're going to do. I won't go through all of these days because you will have seen them in the mapping that we did, but suffice it to say that in the month of May alone, there are all these different dates that we're heading up to, and all of them are important for the work that we do. We have more dates in June, July, August, September, etc. And much as campaigns are not about events and dates, these are all dates that are important to us and that give us a way of a hook, if you like, for some of the campaigns that we're planning. So we won't necessarily have dialogues on all of those days, but you will see that in the campaign planning template, we have suggested that you look at these different dates and see how you can integrate them into your planning, including, of course, the 16 days of activism, which has a number of key dates coming up as well. So, winning campaigns. This was the big announcement that I was waiting to do towards the end of this presentation, just to make sure that we're all still awake, which is to say you will be divided into these groups. The groups cut across different organizations, different countries. That's obviously quite deliberate because we want to see how we can work together across borders on issues like safe abortion, GBV, HIV and AIDS, and so on. And you will be planning your campaigns virtually throughout this week and doing a final presentation on Monday, next Monday, the 24th. And we will have an adjudication panel consisting of experts from Flow, and also independent experts from General Links who helped us with screening your applications in the first place, and therefore quite familiar with what you're doing, to judge the quality of the campaigns that you're planning. And the prize is that one each from your organization of the winning campaign will get to attend the Amplify Change team at the Women's Global Conference in Kigali from the 17th to 20th of July. So that's a really big prize there to look forward to. We're looking at about 5-6 people being in each of these campaign planning things. And if yours is the winning campaign, we will invite you to join that conference. So I hope that is really something big and something to look forward to, and that you will work very hard on your campaigns to get a very good quality campaign that you will share with us on Monday and be inspired and enthused by that prize. So what do we need to do right now? Sorry, it was a lot of information, but what we need to do right now is to register. Again, Nomti, can I suggest you share the registration link? As I said, most people have registered or registered before this, but if you haven't, you would want to do that right now as we're speaking, because we will use this information to divide you into the groups. Those groups will happen later in the program today. And based on those groups, you will start planning your campaigns, and you will want to start doing that early in the process so that you can present a winning campaign next week on Monday. We'd like you to start tweeting about this event. You will be getting many more hashtags during the course of this training, but let's start with this one, which is the hashtag of the fund, Voice and Choice, has been a hashtag for the barometer and other things, and therefore is one that is quite well established now. Just to emphasize, it's capital V, capital C, small a. Voice and Choice is the main hashtag. At GenderLinks, at Amplify Change, at Voice and Choice Southern Africa Fund. Nomti is setting up, and she'll tell you more. I'm not sure what that Twitter handle is, but she is setting up accounts for the fund itself throughout this week. And one of our objectives is to make sure that we all recognize that handle and that we all tag it using the various platforms that we have. So please participate. Come each day for the full course, if at all possible. Delighted to see we have 58 people on the line. what often happens with these courses, by the time you get to the end, you have 20 or so. It's only as good, chain is as weak as the weakest link, especially in communications. So you learn about one thing and not the other, then you miss out. So let's try and be consistent in our participation, particularly, of course, in our participation around the joint campaigns and the presentation of those campaigns that will happen next week, Monday. So let's come, let's participate, let's give our best shot at everything. Let's plan across borders, let's learn, let's win, let's have lots of fun. Thank you very much from me. Sorry, I took a bit longer than I should have, but I thought it was important just to bring us all up to speed. And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to Millie.
To me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pauline. So before we start, we have a little quiz that we'd like everyone to take. I know we took all your details and all your social media info, but we want to see how juiced up you are on social media. So my colleague Nadia is going to share her screen. It's a Kahoot. I've just put the link on the chat group. All you need is your phone. You either use the pin that is on here, you go to the link and you add the pin onto your phone. And as the players come in, we're gonna see them come through. Feel free to use any fun and funky name that you want. Superman, whatever, anything that you want to use. And the Kahoot is only 10 questions that are just here to just check your social media knowledge and just to kickstart our training today so that we don't just go straight into the thick of things. So just let us know if you are able to either scan the QR code or if you can use the pin. Oh, we see you, Kwanele. Wow. See, there's already people in. Sweet lips. If the QR code is not working, there's a link that I've put on the message section. You can just go into the link called kahoot.it and just enter via that. Oh. We'll wait for about 20 people to join. So come on, please join. Oh. Okay, one more person, then we'll start. Cool. Nadia, I think you can start the Kahoot. We have 20 people. So all you do, the question comes up, you pick the color that will be the right answer and will tell you if you have everything right. It's a very short Kahoot. It will end in like 3 minutes max. And go. So for multiple choice question, how did storytelling begin? So on your phone, you see which answer you want to pick on your phone. But fastest fingers first, guys. So quick. Cool. So 4 people got that. Fastest fingers. You have to be very fast on your phone. Kate is killing it. And let's go. And sweet lips. Bali, Kwanele. Let's do it. Next question. Easy peasy. Like taking candy from a child. Easy. Next one. Oh, Bali coming up top. Give us the next question, Nadia. Cool. What answers are? Nine people got that right. But lots of people that are in the know here. Meanie coming through here with number 1. Cool. Next question. 5 of 11.
Lang. 54.
We know you guys are getting help, but mute yourselves. Meanie killing it. Number 1. We see Spider and Tema Tembo coming through. CLM is the highest climber. Come on. 6 of 11. We'll be done soon. Fourteen people got that right. Wow, amazing. Bali is taking center stage again, killing it in the top. Come on, guys, give him Bali a run for their money. Oh, and 11 people got that right. It's October. Next question, 3 more to go so that we can see who's the winner for today. Spider. Wow, where did you come from, Spider? Getting everything right. Now this one is for double points. What's the most populous country in Africa? I'm sure we'll get this one. Nineteen got it right. It's not South Africa, I can assure you. Mean is still taking center stage. Next question, please, Nadia. Mbali and Pops also coming through strong. Hey. Erlen Johnson Sirleaf. That's great. Let's see the scoreboard. Wow, okay. TOFYWD. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Coming in through thick. Next one, second last, and we're good. What is the most gender equal country in sub-Saharan Africa? Wanda is the correct answer. And for the last question, so that we can see who the queen or the king of the Kahoot is, give us the last question. How many member states does the South African Development Community have? How many members does SADC have? Take it home, people. Wow, so many people got that right. 15 people getting it right. And yeah, that is the end. Let's see who our winners for today are. Number 3, CLM. Number 2, Pops. And in first place, COF YWG. Well done, well done, well done, well done. Cool. Thank you so much, Nadia. Thank you so much, guys, for taking part in the Kahoot. So it's just a way of us getting, your creative juices flowing and just seeing how much you know about today's topic. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Melanie, who's going to take you through the art of storytelling and news story and news values and how to get that. Mel, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Give me a second. I'm just going to share my screen. Are you able to see my screen, everybody?
Yeah, boy, yes. Get it on slideshow.
Sorry.
Think just get it on slideshow.
Can you see it?
Ooh. Yes.
Right. So as when I introduced myself earlier, I said trained I'm a journalist by profession. And this translates to everything in every communication that I do. I now am part of a social media team, and we manage our client social media like we would a normal newsroom. And when I say newsroom, what is social media all about? It's about telling good stories. And when you're telling good stories, people are looking at your stories and you're building connections through your stories. So I'm going to talk to you about what makes a good story. There are a few elements that makes good storytelling. And they are universal. It applies to whether you're a journalist writing for a magazine, whether you're writing for your brand on social media. And I'm going to refer to Genderlinks and all the partners here as brands, because you are representing, your social media represents you as a brand. So the essential elements of good storytelling, relevance and timeliness. What makes it important to your story is when something happens. So if Genderlinks today received a multi-billion rand donation from the Gates Foundation, you're going to tell people about it today. You're not going to wait for a month later to tell people that you received $1 billion funding from the Gates Foundation. So the sooner you put the information out when it happens, it is, the more timely it is, and that makes people happen. On Twitter is my favorite social media platform of all the social media platforms, because it's so quick, it's so fast, it's timely. So your information needs to go out quickly when it matters, when it's timely. Prominence, who is involved in the story. So we're going to use the example of the Gates Foundation giving Genderlinks $1 million funding grant. So who is involved in the story? Someone of prominence, for example, a celebrity, a figure of authority, a well-known influencer. If you use influencers for your brands, partners, that the prominence of the person makes a story more relevant. So that the Gates Foundation is, Bill Gates. Everybody knows the Gates Foundation. Do you think that information is going to be relevant to more people? Absolutely, because it's somebody that is known around the world. Everybody knows who Bill Gates is. Everybody knows who Melinda Gates is. Everybody knows the work that the Gates Foundation does in Africa.
Sorry, Mel, can you just put your slideshow on full screen? If you go to slideshow, let's make it full screen.
Just hold on.
Darcy, thank you. Yeah.
Right. where something happens in relation to your audience. So all of you are in Africa, across Africa. If Genderlinks receives $1 billion grant, it's important to you because it means that that money is important to Genderlinks, and it trickles down to partners and trickles down to people that receive that money. So, sorry, is there somebody asking a question? I'm going to carry on. So that's important. It's where the information that's happening is you tell. If something's happening in Botswana, it's important to your audience in Botswana. If something's happening in Mauritius, it's important to your audience in Mauritius. If something happens in the USA with regards to any of your themes of your content, it has less prominence and is less important than something that happens now in your individual countries or in Africa. The impact, how does the story affect your audience? What does the story want your audience to do? The impact of the information that you put on is the Genderlinks received $1 billion grant. That money is going to be spread across partners, and that money is going to go into individual projects, and this is going to impact the work that you do, how you do the work, and is going to impact communities. That is your story, the impact. Conflict is always good, and it's always about, you can find themes of conflict in storytelling everywhere. It's good versus bad. The bully versus the underdog, regimes versus activists, people that are doing good for countries. Let's look at climate change, climate activists that are out there doing good for the countries when the countries are not signing into proper legislation to reduce their climate impact. It's all that kind of stories. So your conflict stories make for really, really good content. Money and sexy numbers, big numbers, important numbers, they're always important. People always want to see it. You know, if somebody in your government has misappropriate funds, the bigger the amount, the more interested people are in the story. So if Genderlinks gets $1 billion, who gets $1 billion in funding? It doesn't always happen. So when you get money, when you get good figures, use those figures, show those important numbers. You get those important numbers from your annual reports as well. You get those important numbers from the amount of people that you're helping, that your organizations are reaching out to, lives that are changing. And then the big thing about storytelling is novelty. Who wants to read a story about a dog that bit a man? But if the story is about a man that bites a dog, that's completely different. This is what makes story differently. So look for those stories that are interesting reading. And once you start using those stories, if you use these elements of good storytelling, you'll start seeing how easy it is to create content for your platforms. Now, everybody knows Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk can put anything on Twitter and he will get reaction, and he knows that. So on the 8th of February, Elon Musk, owner of Twitter, tweeted a full stop, just a full stop. That's all he did. And 11 hours after he posted that full stop, look at the engagement on that tweet. 30,000 comments, over 200,000 likes, a reach of over 31 million Rand. If you go and look at that tweet now, you can still find at the history of that tweet, there are now 48,000 comments and 369,000 likes on that. That is good. That is knowing your audience. It's a good way to know what people are going to engage with, how they're going to engage. And this is also a nice story, showing a story about how you can have fun telling stories. It doesn't need to always be serious. It doesn't need to be always just words, images. Have fun, tell your stories, find the fun in your stories and share those stories. Remember, the people that are on social media are people. People are funny, they're interested, they're interesting, they tell those kind of stories. Another story that I want to share with you is, this is a Bollywood star in India. You know, India is a very hard country for women in particular. There are a lot of still taboos in India. And this actor, Akshay Kumar, was at an event, and he's standing with a packet of pads in his hand, and he is he started this Pad Man Challenge to get people to talk about pads. And to break the stigma of pads. And he was very clever in his storytelling here. Let's spread the word on menstrual hygiene, take a selfie with a pad and tag 9 people to form a chain, talking about pads and menstrual health. This is a really good storytelling is there. He used his community, started a movement that is still ongoing at the moment. Next is, I want to show you the story about for Africa. For Africa, there was Cyclone Freddy happened, and for Africa was really, really good on the ground. They tell very, very good stories. And specifically, I chose the story about Cyclone Freddy and how they use their social media to highlight what is happening, the work they're doing, people that they're using content from other organizations to tell the story of Cyclone Freddy and its impact in Africa. They were very, very clever, and they were timely getting people what was happening on the ground, talking, using eyewitness accounts to tell the story of what was happening on the ground, using stories from WPF Mozambique to show what was happening, using news stories to show what was happening, even retweeting stuff from UNICEF was also on the ground in partnership with For Africa. And this is very, very good storytelling. Storytelling can happen over a period of days. They stuck with this story and they told the story over a period of days. And it really had some really, really good impact. And people saw what was happening on the ground. This is how you can tell stories across your social media platforms. And this, I just wanted to show you, Gates Foundation Africa, they knew that World Health Day was coming up the next day, and they posted a tweet. And the next day when World Health Day actually happened, they were on the ground and they told the story. This is being tactical. This is putting out information. Really, they gave stats of HIV, how many people living with HIV know their status. This was really, really good storytelling. And it's planning your content and being aware of what's happening in your areas of where you are operating and knowing what people will engage with and what people are interested in. So we're going to talk about content planning, because content planning makes your lives so much easier. When you have a content plan in place and you know what you want to talk about, you are able to do, whoever's managing your social media is going to get it right. So what we are doing, we are talking first as gender links. So we're going to talk about gender links, the tone of the content you're putting out and how you're putting this out. Tone of your content is always important. So if you look at brands across the world, you'll see that there's different brands with different tones. Look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is very young. It talks to a young audience. It uses very good graphics to talk to their audience. They know who the audience is. They know who connects with them. They're fun. They're fast. They know what words to use in their content. Gender links is not Coca-Cola. Gender links is about really important and serious conversations. So your tone is always going to be professional. When we say professional, we're talking about making sure that when you're putting out a post across your social media, it doesn't matter which social media platform, you're going to make sure that your grammar and your spelling is correct, getting names of people who you're mentioning in your content, getting those names right, making sure that you are always professional. If somebody is shouting at you or saying you do something, you're always professional in how you're going to engage with that person. So always professional, then informative. This is what you're doing. You are telling people about the work that you're doing. You are telling people about what's happening in the areas where you are working. You are knowledgeable about, nobody knows about the issues that you deal with, and as well as you know it. So you are always knowledgeable about what you're talking about. You're going to talk with your audience, and I'm going to show you how you talk with your audience. You're not just going to talk to your audience and throw content at them all the time. You're going to create opportunities where you can talk with your audience, because social media is a two-way street. It's not just talking at people. It's not just somebody there, and you know how you feel when somebody's there and just talking to you and talking and not giving you an opportunity to engage with them. We're going to show you how to engage with your audience all the time. And then talking with one voice. There's so many offices and in regions where GenderLinks and your partners operate. So if GenderLinks says that teenage sexual and reproductive health is an important message that you want to get out across from, and the office in Botswana says, no, this is not important. This is not important to us at all. We want to talk about the politics of HIV/AIDS. You are not talking with one voice. You all have to talk with one voice about what is important to the organization, what is the messaging that you want to put out. You can put out your messages in different ways, and using different like videos or so on. But if you're talking about one voice with regards to all of the work that you are doing, it shows that you know that your organization is aligned. It doesn't matter where you are. You know what you're talking about. You're all talking with one voice. And that is really, really important for a brand. And I'm going to explain why. So we know that on social media is the first contact with any brand now. Before, it never used to be that way. People would pick up the phone and find you and ask information about you. They would go to your website and go and look at your website to see if you're legit. But now the first contact with a brand is through your social media accounts. And if your social media accounts has a scattered, broken message, people are not going to believe that you are who you are. So your message needs to be on point, and it needs to take into consideration all of these tips that I mentioned. So it's a lot of hours. I know it takes a long time to actually do social media, and people pay us a float to do the social media for them, because we can do it for them. We can come up with messaging. We can come up with, they give us the hours to do their social media for them, but you're doing it for your own different social media platforms. How you plan your content is you decide on the key topics that you want to talk about on your social media. You know what they are. They gender-based violence, they menstrual health, they all of those things. So you know what they are. So you need to decide what you want to do with your social media. Is your social media about telling people what you're doing? Is it engaging with people? Is it engaging with your partners? Showing your partners what you are all about? Is it about fundraising? All of these things, I think, is what you're doing. I don't think that GenderLinks it's secondary to you that your content is reaching somebody in outer space. What's important for you is that your messaging is on point, and that you're putting out the information that you want people to know about you. How often you post is really important, because if you're going to decide that you're dedicating time to social media, you need to be consistent and you need to be posting frequently. So you need to decide how often. We're in this document, there are some suggestions on how much to post and how much on your social media platforms, but you are going to learn what people are, how people are engaging with you. Using those stuff, you're going to learn how people are engaging with your content, how much content they want, and when they want that content. So generally, we know that people go onto their social media in the morning before they start working. They go on to their social media, especially if they only have access to Wi-Fi, maybe at the office. So they're on at work. They go on during lunchtime, and most of the time before they go home, they're also checking their social media. That's generally, I'm not saying that's how everybody, if you wake up and the first thing you do in the morning is check to see how many followers you have on TikTok, that's how you operate, that is yours. And if you're on social media till late at night, but we are talking generalization, and how we know how audiences are engaging on social media. Then what makes our lives really, really easy is because we have so many social media clients, we use a social media tool, and you can get free social media tools that help you to plan your content. So you work out your content for the month, and you get all your content together, you write all your posts, your images, your videos, all of that. You find a social media tool that can help you schedule your content, and you don't need to be on your social media platforms all day. to do social media. Use tools that are available for you, and make your lives easier, but do make sure that you have content going out. And then just what makes life easy for you. So we go and see what post worked last month in our content plans for our clients, and we can replicate those posts and use it again. Nothing needs to be new all the time. You can see what content worked for you previously, and you can reuse that content. It makes your life so much easier. So there's different of talking on social media, and social media platforms make it easy to put content out in different ways. I'm going to stress this quite often during this talk. Video is the #1 social media demand. Social content demand on social media. People want to see videos. This is why TikTok has exploded. This is why YouTube has exploded. People want to see video content. But there are other ways of telling stories. So if you're on LinkedIn and you're on Twitter, you can use polls for quick surveys. It's very, very easy to do, and we use it with our clients. For example, we had a client that rebranded completely. They had a different logo, they had different colors and everything. And we posted on their social media post the day they rebranded, and asked the audience, did they see the rebrand? What did they like about the rebranding? It was very easy to get surveys, and you can information from your audience that can help your brand with how it puts out content. It's very easy for you. You can do surveys like, how many people do you know your HIV status? Yes, no, I don't think it's important, those kind of things. It's very easy to do. Social media is really, really easy. I know most of you are proficient on social media, and social media platforms make it easy for people like us, ordinary people, to use social media. And they also make it easy for people to stay on their platforms. So they give you options to use content and have fun with content, and give people different ways of doing. You can use Facebook and Instagram Reels. This is very easy video content. You don't have to walk around with a big video, standing there with a person holding a mic or a cameraman and all that. Use your smartphone, take videos, post that videos. When you're at an event, it's really easy to take short videos and post it to your Facebook or Instagram. LinkedIn posts. LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, thought leader content. Use the platform for your thought leader content. Twitter Spaces is a nice way to get groups of people together to talk about ideas or to talk about issues. Use that as an event space. It's really, really easy to use. So you don't have to be sitting there planning content for 20 days out of the year, out of the month, planning your content. You just need to be careful with how you're using your content. So take quotes and use stats and turn them infographics. Visually, people are attracted to posts that have visuals in them. So use really intricate, tell easy stories using infographics. So if you need to talk about your stats from a recent campaign, if you have to put out information from your annual report, turn that information into infographics and use those infographics. It will get more engagement than just simple text. Use popular hashtags to join information. These are easy hashtags to use and to attach your content to these hashtags. But make sure that you're using the hashtag properly. Don't do a throwback Thursday to something that is not relevant to you. Motivation Monday, you can use information, motivate people to go and have their HIV status checked, motivate people to do the right thing in your audiences. Use testimonials for case studies. You can use them really, really nicely for good content. This generally gets really, really nice information on. And remember, when you're out gathering content, always get information, get pictures, get videos, text and quotes, write people's names and get the right names. And if you're going to use somebody's information in a Twitter post or a Facebook post, get their names properly, get quotes from people. Quotes work. People want to hear what other people say. Quote of the day is still a very big and popular hashtag. So use your quotes, find quotes and use it. Re-angle content across and use it across platforms. I have an example of how we can do it, and I'll show that to you later. And then user-generated content is really, really important. while you are the most important people that talk about the issues that you deal with and your campaigns, your followers are also going to be posting content. If somebody is telling a story that relates to the work that you do, you can use that content to tell the story of gender links. If somebody received a grant and is helping the community, and somebody in the community is talking about how you have turned around how people are engaging with teenage sexual and reproductive health in the community, and people are having those contents, you can use that content to generate content for your platform. Share content from your partner organizations, showcase who your partners are, share the content that your partners are talking about. Use, and then again, go back, look at your content and see what your content did and how it performed, and reuse that content. There's nothing wrong with using that content again. You don't need to post something just once. You can reuse that content, and if it's good content, you will get engagement on that content. Right. So I'm using an example here of how you can take one piece of content and use that content across different ways. So you can take your key topics of what you need to do as an organization and talk to that content and break it into simple things that you can talk about. So take a piece of content that is, so we've divided, this is an example of how you can divide your social media content into what you are going to talk about. So if you have media releases, news stories about your the work that you're doing and your scope of interest, this should be the main content that you're putting out. So break it up to 40% of the content that you are going to talk about in a month. Your impact stories, post that shows what Gender Links does, your campaigns, fundraising, stuff like that, use that. If you have events, there's some events that are coming up that we heard about, use that. Post that show your impact. Example, if you have to put out information about your annual report, use this as part of your content plan. And then post about people, your partners, influence, activists that's doing stuff that is part of the gender.
Are we losing you, Mel? Mel? Can people still hear Mel?
No, we can't. She seems to have frozen. Okay.
Sorry, Mel, you froze a bit. Maybe you can turn off your camera and then you can pick up. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Just go on to full screen, please.
All right, so reshare posts by influencers and people of authority. They're talking about anything that your organization covers, use that content. So this is an example of how to break up your content for your content planning. It's easy if you get this right. It makes content planning really, really easy. Engaging content. It's all about your content. It's no use writing content and spending hours and hours writing content if your content is not getting engagement. So content must be planned properly and well written and engaging. Talk with people, create opportunities for people to talk with you. Important content is not necessarily interesting content. So if you need to tell people that your board had a meeting and these are the things that came out of the board, that doesn't make for interesting content. Think how you can use important content and make that content interesting. I'm coming back to your annual reports. If you need to use annual reports, your annual reports and disseminate information from the annual reports, think about using infographics. Think about getting somebody to talk to what's in that annual report in a short video instead of putting out just a text post. All posts must go out with good images. Visuals always get high engagement. Video content gets engagement of all. Again, I'm going to state this, and video content is the #1 social media content demand across social media. It is very important. People want to see video. And then again, I'm coming right back to the very, very beginning. Tell stories with your content. Once you are able to tell stories, you are getting your content right. Right. Do's and don'ts for content. When you do, be smart. Do's quickly. I'm going to go through this, and I'm sorry I'm rushing, but we are running out of time a little bit. So do's, be smart with your content, be visual with your content, be informative. Don't just post because you have to post, be informative. Build your brand's presence with your content. Like I said, people come to social media to see who you are. If you are a legitimate organization, if the people that is representing the brand are legitimate people, they want to know who you are. Remember, there are thousands and thousands of NGOs or NPOs out there. They all want visibility. They all are doing good for the world. You have to stand out with your content and make sure that your brand is seen amongst all that other content that's going out every day. You know everything about what your brand is about. You know gender links, you know what your areas of importance are. You know more than anybody else about gender-based violence, about menstrual health. You are a thought leader in those areas. Showcase your expertise in these areas. Manage your online reputation. If somebody is saying something negative about gender links, saying it's a rubbish organization, that you don't do what you say, don't get into a spat with them. Engage with the person and manage that reputation, because if people are saying stuff about you and you're not engaging with what people are saying with you, you're not managing your reputation. I'm not saying get involved in a spat with somebody. What I am saying is acknowledge if somebody says anything good about you, acknowledge when somebody's saying something bad about you. And then once you've spoken to somebody and they're saying gender links is rubbish and you're not, try and engage with that person. Say, we're sorry you feel this way, please can you message us, and then can we take this conversation offline. When people see that you're engaging, even with the bad comments that people are making, they see that you are really, that you do care about how people are seeing your brand, and that you are not afraid to engage with people and have conversations, difficult conversations with them. And then once you've decided you're going to be on social media, please be consistent. You can't post today and then only post 3 months later. You can't be consistent. If you decide you're going to do 3 Facebook posts a week, stick to those 3 Facebook posts a week. If you decide you're going to be on Twitter every day, be on Twitter every day. You have to be consistent, and this is how you manage your brand online. Post regularly. It's really, really important that people say that your platforms are active. Then don't post fake news. Is very, very, very easy to post fake news. If you read somebody says something and you just retweet it without having checked the tweet that you put, you discredit your brand when you retweet something that is not true, or post fake news. Make sure that everything that you put out is genuine. It's been fact checked. I said earlier, don't get engaged in online spats. Acknowledge if somebody says something bad about your organization or a person that's part of your organization. Engage with that person, take the spat offline. Don't engage in online spats. And then when you're posting content from other sources, don't post it without crediting where you're getting that information from. It discredits you if you take an image from another source and put it up and people think it's your picture. So credit images, credit videos, credit information where you're getting it from. Content calendars and posting. Again, if you decided, if you're dedicating time to social media, make sure that you are consistent with what you are doing. So plan your content, create a content calendar that's going to be helpful when you are planning your content. Decide on how often you're going to schedule or post content live. Plot what topics you're going to talk about. I showed you earlier how to break down your content. That will help. Create content and populate a calendar. When you're putting out content, include links so that to your website so that people can read more. Tag other organizations or partners into your content. Use hashtags, popular hashtags. Create unique hashtags with your content so that you can see how people are engaging with those hashtags. So if you're talking about menstrual health, create a hashtag or use a popular hashtag that people is talking about around menstrual health, and that adds to the conversation around menstrual health. Use a scheduling platform. There are third-party tools. They are free, or you can post as you go, but really third-party tools to help you schedule are really helpful when you are very busy doing the important work that you are doing. Write content for each platform. Don't simply copy and paste. So your post on LinkedIn is not going to be the same post that you posting on Twitter. It's very important. There's different audience for different platforms. See how content works on the different platforms. Then again, be authentic, be consistent, be engaging, speak like you would talk to somebody, like you are telling somebody who's never heard about you. So be engaging. When we say ask questions, ask people about stuff. Use those Twitter polls to generate information about you, to see what your brand is seeing your brand, how people are engaging with your brand. Use pictures related to your brand. It's no use talking about menstrual health and you have an image about somebody doing a census in a community. Include media coverage of your organization. If there's a news article or a radio broadcast or a podcast, everything, use that content, show people what people that are talking about your organization. Again, encourage engagement, encourage people to ask questions and answer questions. When people are asking questions of you, answer those questions. Give tips. People want advice. It's very easy to do tips. It's really easy. Top 10 reasons why we need to be consistent with menstrual health messaging. Top 10 tips on how to get a community engaged in talking about teenage reproductive health, stuff like that. It's easy to do. And then ask your followers what they want to talk about. Let them suggest content topics. Use your polls, use your platforms to get your audience to talk and tell you what they want to hear more from you about. Right, and then earlier I spoke about how to use content clever. Be clever with your content. You can take one piece of content and use that content really well across your social media platform. If you are starting out and you're planning doing a content plan for the very first time, you've got one piece of content. So we've said that Colleen Lowe, Muna, has written a thought leader piece on how gender diversity in politics has never been at the level that it is, and what this means for gender equality. That piece is going to go up with an image on LinkedIn. It's going to go up probably with an image of Colleen, or if you've got a beautiful image about female politicians politicians, you can use that image. You can take that same story and you can get Colleen to what she's written in that thought leader piece. She can do a very short video clip and you can use that video clip about her thought leader piece. You can use it on Facebook. Then you can post that content and you can on Twitter or LinkedIn use a poll and ask people about, do you believe gender diversity in politics will ensure gender equality? That's one piece of content that you can create a lot of content around. And it's just about being clever and being and spending some time thinking about how you're going to do your content and how you're going to plan your content. And then I'm going to go through some examples of what makes a good social media post. So this post that was posted on the 14th of November last year, it's a really good social media post. It has a very collecting water, and you have to see the perilous journey she has to make to get water for her family. It was timely because it was coming up to it was about a statement to COP27. COP27 was about to happen. It was a statement from the organization and you had a call to action in this in your post. You asked people to read your statement, and you asked people to share your statement online. You also included really nicely really good hashtags in your copy. So it was about climate change, COP27, it was about women and water and gender. And this is the perfect post to put out. You've got a really strong visual, relevant hashtags, a clickable link, and a really clear call to action. So this is very nicely done. And you're doing this already, and there's just more opportunities for everybody yet to be able to do this content and see this content and do it. Frequency and timing. There are some global standards on how you, or global guidelines on how you post frequency on different social media platforms. On Facebook, one Facebook post a day is really sufficient. Every other post after that your first Facebook post gets less, it's shown less, it gets visibility across your Facebook audience, because Facebook doesn't want people, while it wants people to stay on the platform, it doesn't want people to spam organizations, to spam people with information. So usually one Facebook post a day works on Facebook. Twitter, you can post as many times as you want to on Twitter. The more you post on Twitter, the more visibility you will have. So we're suggesting if you want to stick to 3 posts a day for Twitter, that's perfectly fine. Instagram, also 1 post a day. It's the same as Facebook. Or use different ways to talk, or do a story, or use a video, or do something like that. LinkedIn, the global standard is 3 times a week. We find that if you post daily, it does nothing to hurt your brand if you're posting daily. In fact, people are engaging with their content. We find that. And once you have your LinkedIn account running properly, and you're doing amazing thought leader pieces, people are going to come to you because they see you as a thought leader, and they want to see the content that you can do there. Right. And now I am done with my part of the presentation, and I've given you a lot of information very fast, and I'm apologizing for that. And I think we're going to hold questions for the end of this.
Yeah, I think we can hold questions until the end of this, Mel. And
Okay.
Pauline had just asked if we can take 5 minutes to ask people to register on the link that was sent in the message section that Nomthandazo put through. And if people have done that, then we're going to move over to Roy for the end of a social media campaign.
Sorry, yeah, if I can just ask for a quick pause there. Let me share my screen, if I can, around the sheet that we're filling in, because there's a little bit of confusion about that. So you all got a link to this Google sheet, and what we need is for all of you to sign up. So you can see that we put your organization, we put the theme, and we put your organization according to those themes. That's in terms of the understanding, our understanding of where you're working. Then basically all you need to do is, together where the name of your organization is, just put in the name and surname of the person who's participating here today, and who will be participating in this training, and then let us know sex, whether you're urban, rural, and age. This is all for our M&E data, and you just do that by putting a 1 underneath. And I think most of you have got that sorted out. Basically, what NOMTI needs to do, and I will suggest, Millie, a slight change in the program so that maybe we take this next piece in the fundraising and do the group work right at the end, just to give NOMTI enough time to put everyone into groups, if that's okay. But we need all 57 people, less the facilitators, of course, so about 50 people in the room, to sign up to this sheet. We need all of your names, and we need that literally within the next 5-10 minutes, so that we can sort out the group. So if it's okay, and this is probably, we're halfway through the program, probably a good time to just have a bit of a break in any case. If we can just allow it 5 minutes, so that everyone in the room actually signs up. We close on that piece before Roy comes in, and then Nomti can be assigning everyone to groups so that in the last 20, 30 minutes that we have, we go into those groups and just make sure they're all functioning. Okay.
Yeah, and just to say, I'm seeing a question in the chat if you can change the theme. Yes, you can change the theme because you know your work better than we would know it. So just change the theme so that I can assign you in the correct breakout session.
Yeah, so then what that would mean is you would then put your name under a different theme, but then you have to put the name of your organization there as well. Yeah. Okay. So we're just gonna pause literally for 5 minutes, and then Roy will pick up thereafter. Thank you all.
Hey, wait.
Can we get a show of hands to see if everyone's back? You can use the reaction or just say you're back so that Roy can resume in the interest of time. Also, if bandwidth dependent, could you please keep your cameras on so that we can just see you when we're presenting? Would love to just see you and your reactions. And please ask any questions in the chat group. We'll collate them and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So if your bandwidth allows you, please put your camera on. We'd love to see you when we're presenting. And if you would like to just ask any questions that are related to Mel's section and to this new section, to the section that Roy is going to be talking about, we will collate all the questions later. Thank you. Roy, you can take it away.
All right. Thank you so much. I will get into it. I'm going to keep the session as brief as I can so that we can have some time for questions and engagements. I think Melanie's session was fantastic because content is absolutely key when it comes to social media campaigns. So I think Melanie got a lot of things covered, but it'd be great to chat more about some of what she touched on. So yeah, just a bit more about my background. Great to be here today. I've been with Flow for 14 years. So a lot of that time has been doing campaign strategies, implementing campaigns. Prior to joining Flow, I was a journalist as well. And actually, it's great to be here today because 20 years ago, when I was in my first year of journalism studies at Durban University of Technology, one of my lecturers was Ms. Kubirama, who I understand joined Gender Links in 2019. And yeah, she was an absolutely fantastic lecturer. And one thing that she made very clear to all of us who were studying at the time was that issues relating to gender affect everybody in society. And she had a lot of yeah, she was just a fantastic lecturer, and certainly the learnings from that. My first year in journalism, I applied throughout my journalism career, and I've applied in marketing. And I think that messaging is very important to all of us, is that the issues that you're dealing with are very important and that they're very relevant to absolutely everybody. So, but getting into the elements of a strong social media campaign. So it's went a bit quickly there. So setting goals and objectives up front is absolutely crucial. It sounds very obvious, but it's something that's very important that you've got something that you're working towards. Now, goals and objectives can apply to social media, but they can also apply to real world outcomes. So I understand that a lot of you here would be looking at doing fundraising, but obviously to do successful fundraising, you need to have a good social media following. So you might have a goal that's to get so many social media followers. You might have a goal that is to raise so much in funding. Obviously, there's advocacy messaging. So there's a lot that a lot of objectives you've got. You can't do everything in every campaign, and also depending on the time frame, depending on a lot of different factors. But I think it's important to work out before you start a campaign what it is you're trying to achieve, because this can influence factors such as the platforms that you're going to focus on, people that you're going to get involved in the campaign. And if budget is relevant, you need to sort of understand what is realistic within the budget you've got and how that budget best be used in line with your goals and your objectives. And this becomes particularly important if you're going to if you've got partner organizations that need to understand this. So Also very important to put in place from the start, before you begin a campaign, any tracking methods that you can to see the success of it. So you might be tracking, for example, the reach of a hashtag. You might be tracking follower growth. You might be checking actual, if you're doing fundraising, how many funds did you raise during that campaign period. But it's important that all of those methods you put tracking in place. And in the digital age, it's very easy to do this, but it's obviously important to do that before you start. But very, very important before you start a campaign is to just be clear in your minds, who are you targeting and what do you want them to do? I think that's probably the key to setting a campaign objective is who are you speaking to, what are you saying, and what would you like the people to do? Is it an awareness campaign, or is there actually something that you would like them to do, to sign up, to donate, and to make sure that that is worked into your campaign? All right, people. In any campaign, people are absolutely essential, but for the work that you're doing is 100% about people. All your campaigns, 100%, everything needs to revolve around people. When it comes to campaign planning, it's very important to think about people that you would like to be involved in your campaign to get the best possible results. The word influencers becomes a big discussion point when it comes to planning this, and this is something that I'm sure we'll get to in the comments section as well. I remember years ago when influencers became a big thing in the commercial space, we had a lot of our brands or clients would come and say, oh, we want Casper Nyovest, we want Bonang, because they've got this many followers. But it's not always about working with people who've got the most followers, because sometimes you find the celebrities who've got a big following, firstly, they charge ridiculous sums of money to put out a tweet. Secondly, because they're doing such big volumes, they don't engage. And very often they're just not aligned with your messaging and your audience. So for me, the very important thing when it comes to planning which people to have involved in your campaign is their relevance to your message. And yes, it's obviously then a bonus if they've got their own social media following, but their relevance to your messaging and the strength of their voice and what they've got to say, that's what we would always consider first and foremost when we're planning which people to get involved in a campaign. So I just wanted to give examples of people who've been very powerful in the social media campaign space, and it's been for different reasons. So this is Tarana Burke, who is the Time Person of the Year 2017. So she began the Me Too movement, and she actually began that in 2006. So long before the Me Too campaign really took off in 2017. She actually did have a big social media following in 2006, but I think with her, it was her ideas, her aura, her just power as a person that really gave her what she's got to lend to a campaign. And to this day, yes, she has a strong social media following. I think she maybe has 150,000 Twitter followers, but with her, as I say, someone like her, it's just what they have to say, their ideas, their philosophies, they're what you want to have involved in your campaigns. Even if it's just someone like that you are talking to get a little video with them, that can be a lot more powerful than their own social media following. At the same time, you get people who they've got the messaging and they've also got the social following, and they're also relevant to your audience. So in South Africa, for example, someone like Siya Kolisi, who is the captain of our rugby team, he is a fantastic person to have in any campaign relating to gender, because he has a social media following, but he's also he does this because it means something to him. It's very important to him. So back in 2019, when South Africa won the Rugby World Cup, Siya Kolisi and some of his teammates, they were very outspoken about a lot of the gender issues that we were experiencing in South Africa at the time. And it was just great that they were using that platform for that. Even in Siya Kolisi's biography, he speaks a lot about it. And a guy like him is great because he not only has a massive social media following, but he's very keen to get involved in campaigns, as I say, because it means something to him. So if I give an example with Siya Kolisi, we were doing a pitch to Brand South Africa for a communications campaign that was about building the nation's profile. And we thought that Siya would be a fantastic ambassador for this. And we just approached him randomly at a commercial event. And we said to him, listen, Siya, we're going to be pitching this campaign to Brand South Africa. We think you're a fantastic ambassador for this. This is not for commercial gain. These are the reasons behind it. Could you maybe give us a 30-second piece to video about why South Africa is such a great place to visit or invest in, whatever it was? And he did that. And he's just one example of somebody who is really good to get involved in a campaign because he's got the real life clout as well as the social media clout, and he's just aligned with the agenda. So it's very important to think about people like that who can be involved in your campaigns. All right, the subject of relevance. Now, Melanie did touch on this. I'm going to go a bit more into it. Obviously, all of the issues that we are dealing with here are very important issues. As I've said, these are issues that affect everybody in society. But these issues get a lot more engagement in the social media space when they refer to something specific. Like if we go back to the Me Too example, which the campaign started in 2006, it was 2017 where the hashtag Me Too really took off because of events that were happening in Hollywood, actresses speaking out about people, that sort of thing. So that's when it really took off. So I just wanted to think about recently a relevant example. And I came across in South Africa, there was this video of a prominent businessman in Cape Town who was really violently abusing his partner in front of their daughter. And this was caught on captured on CCTV, and this was published on various news websites. Now, every day, I mean, this obviously, unfortunately, this sort of thing happens every day, and we read about it every day. But in this was an example of where, as Melanie said again, video, because video has got such huge impact. It really gets people talking. There was huge reaction to this. So this was huge news for around South Africa, probably around the world. Just because you're taking something that is an issue, but there's now a specific example of that really got people talking and really got people thinking. I mean, it was absolutely shocking, the footage in the video. But just because it was timely, it did a whole lot more than, it wasn't just sort of something that was published over one day. There was then reactions to this video. So for example, the guy pictured on the left there, he's Bakkies Botha. He's a former Springbok rugby player, one of the most feared rugby players of all time. And he was one of the people who just came into social media to react to this video. All he did was he replied to whatever tweet he saw, and he wrote a few words. He wrote, "Bring him to me." But basically, that really extended the story, because this was now Bakkies Botha saying in his own way, "I'm totally opposed to this. This is not cool." And then that again gave the news agencies, a whole nother angle to take on their story, to really keep it going, to keep it prominent. So this was a time where you're taking a very serious issue of gender-based violence, and it's extra topical, or getting extra engagement because of all the people who are now contributing to the conversation. And that's very important to remember, that these issues have always been important. They will always be important. But when you get newsworthy events that you can tap into, there's going to be extra talkability, and that's where your messaging is going to have a whole lot more impact. So it's very hard to work these sort of things into your content planning, but you've got to be very responsive and very agile when it comes to working them in. Melanie did mention user-generated content. This is particularly important when you're talking in conversation about your brand. What you say about your brand is one thing, but what somebody else says, what a third party says about your brand, is even more important. So if it's somebody who has benefited in some way from work that your brand has done, their story is going to have a whole lot more impact than you saying what you've done about yourself. So it's always very important to think about what your users are saying and how to get that out. Now, just an example is following hashtags on the different social platforms. So I've just taken a screenshot here of the Me Too platform to show how much content there is about that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you've got your own campaign hashtag, what you want to be doing is regularly checking in on the content that has been posted in that space, and take the best content that your users are putting out there and repurposing that. Because as I say, that's going to have a lot more impact than the impact the content that you're just putting out yourselves. That was just an example I took of user-generated content. Could be stuff that partner organizations are putting out, that individuals are putting out. Anybody who's aligned to your messaging, to your theme, you want to be keeping an eye out on that. All right, and then measurements. So obviously, I mentioned at the start, it's very important to set objectives up front. But then there comes a point where you've got to work out how successful your campaign was. And there are so many different ways you can measure the success of a campaign. Obviously, there's in the social media space ways that you can measure reach, how many people saw your campaign hashtag or your campaign content. Even more important for me than reach is always engagement, how many people engaged with the content. Sentiment can be a difficult one to track, because your sentiment tracking tools don't always understand the context that a word is being used in, but it is important to track that as far as possible. In some cases, your objective might be to get more people to your website or your donation platform, and you want to see how successful social media was in doing that. You might want to look at the growth in your following from the start of campaign to the finish. Then conversions and real life success. This could be things like, I mean, obviously a big outcome we'd all want is a reduction in some of the negative issues that we're talking about here, but it might be something like also conversions might be the fundraising that you gathered over a certain period of time. So, but obviously to get this measurement right, you have to set your tracking up front to know what it is that you're trying to achieve and how you're going to be evaluating these success. So just some examples of how you can do tracking. So this was just a screenshot from this is taken from Google Analytics. So this is looking at a website backend. How many people came to the website via social media? The objective of this campaign was to increase the number of visitors to the website using social media. And this would have been a campaign that would have been run over a year's time. So what we're tracking here is the success of each platform in terms of driving people to the website, because this would have then informed our planning for the year ahead to say, right, okay, 62% of people who came to the website via social media came from Facebook. Therefore, in our planning, we must need to focus a lot more of our budget or our time on Facebook, because that is where we got the results. So tools like this are very, very useful for looking retrospectively, as well as planning ahead to your next campaign. And then also, this was an example of a campaign that we did with the Road Accident Fund in South Africa, where the objective was to reduce the number of fatalities relating to road accidents over a festive season. Obviously, a massive campaign. Obviously, one that social media had a part to play in. We're not saying that social media was the reason for this happening, but obviously we wanted to know, very key to us at the end of the campaign was there a reduction in road deaths? And yes, there was. And it was very fantastic for us to know that we had played a little part in that by being involved in that social media campaign. So yeah, so there's always going to be things that you can track via social media, via digital means like sentiment analysis, as I say, Google Analytics, but also there'll always be real life outcomes that you want to look in on as well when you come to the end of a campaign. Melissa, I'm going to hand over to you to talk from here about what makes a strong campaign. Do you want me to keep presenting, or do you want to take over?
Please, I would like to take over, and
Sure.
I can just take over from you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'll hand over to you.
So, let me know if you can see my screen and if it's full, because it's full.
Yeah, all good.
Cool. So just quickly, we're also going to just talk about, having a social media campaign needs a strategy. So, and I think like most of the time people, want to do a social media campaign, but they're not quite sure about which strategy to use and how to go about it. So I think the first thing that you want to do, you need to be strategic. You need to utilize the most effective channels, because what we've seen is that some people go onto Facebook and create a campaign. Meanwhile, the campaign is more suited to an Instagram, or it's more suited to a LinkedIn or a TikTok. So you want to be sure of which channel that you're going to be using, what PR efforts are going to be leading and helping that campaign, so that the campaign is not just a standalone. You have to use your PR, you must use your internal comms, and you must use even your WhatsApp broadcast channels. And as Roy mentioned, a good campaign should demonstrate measurable results. So everything that you do needs to be results driven and results orientated. What was the reach? What were the metrics? If you wanted to sell something, did you sell? Did you get any donations? And what is the ROI for that specific campaign? Also, so we looked at some organizations that were using social media for fundraising, because we do know that this is a big space for you guys as Gender Links and for the organizations that you're part of. And we saw that there are organizations, even in Africa and overseas, that have been using social media to fundraise. And whether it was their Facebook pages or their LinkedIn pages, they're able to actually have their voice, launch campaigns on social media. And for topics that are very, these are serious topics, some of them quite taboo. And a lot of women and a lot of people that are affected by these things. So the work that you do is really like such important work. So it's important to know how to go about on social media. So when we checked out Malawi Human Rights Organization, sorry, please mute. That had a campaign on how to end gender-based violence, and they were able to to raise funds for that. And also the Women's Legal Center in South Africa, how they use social media to raise funds for Safe Abortion Fund and provide legal support to women of assistance in South Africa. And also when you are working on your campaigns, and you are going to go in groups and you're going to start working on campaigns, but you also need to know that not everything has to be hectic. So this video that I'm about to show you, it showcases impact, but it's done in a way that is not costly. It is done in a way where you don't need to go into a studio or you don't need to interview lots of people. This is a video that uses it's telematic videos. There are no, like, it's just audio and video. And I really think it's such an impactful video for you to look at. So I won't play the full video, but it's going to be part of the notes from here, so you can all see it and you can just play it in your own time because it's a 3-minute video and we are running out of time. We also looked at some fundraiser ideas for the nonprofits that are here. So what are some of the things what are some of the campaigns that you can run, and what are some of the things that you can do on social media that can help your campaigns online? And the tips that we saw is, social media is all about people. People want to know about what other people are doing. They want to see real life stories. They want to see stories of impact. And all of you, we are in organizations where you have stories of impact that you can share. So people are likely to donate when they feel emotionally connected to the cause. So if I'm connected to a cause of GBV, or someone else is connected to a cause of safe abortions, I'm most likely to, connect to donate to those causes. So you need to use the stories of impact that your organizations are having and to tug at people's heartstrings to get them to donate to your causes. You want to share stories of individuals and communities. So if people that are affected by all the good work that you've been doing, if there are testimonials, if there's stories that you have been creating, what's great again when you're creating campaigns, maybe a timeline story of when you came to a certain organization, certain community, and the work that you have done there, or work that you have done with a certain person, and you can use that as your campaign. Secondly, we spoke about this visual content is likely to be shared and engaged with on social media. So you don't want to use text, you want to use videos, you want to use GIFs, you want to use images so that people can see and showcase the work that you're doing in a way that is impactful. You can also create graphics and infographics. Melanie shared this at the beginning of her talk, where there was infographics that have stats of the work that you have done, and that is going to help people to donate to your cause. And obviously making the donation process as simple as possible. So don't make people jump through hoops to donate. Make sure that it's simple. If they come into your site, there's a donate button. If they're on your TikTok page, there's a donate tab that they can click onto. If they're on your Facebook, they're able to donate just at the click of a button. So you have to make the job easy for people. And then some analytics tools that we found, which Roy has already spoken about, is Google Analytics. Google Analytics, it's free and it's very detailed. I mean, you don't need to pay for analytics tools to even check your website stats, to check how your campaign is performing. And I think the lovely thing about Google is that it even gives you, like the metrics, like who's on your page, how many people are falling off, and where are they falling off. And this helps you then, if people are falling off when they get to the donate page, then you know that maybe there's something that you need to do with the user journey, or there's something that people are not able to understand, then you can optimize that. You can even set up goals and you can track per campaign. So if you ran a campaign in January versus running a campaign in June, what are the differences and how many people are engaging with that campaign? So Google Analytics is an amazing tool that you can tap into and use to track your campaigns. Hootsuite also, which has a free version and a paid version. We are going to delve in more to this on Friday, when I'm going to take you through all the tools that you can use for social media. So Hootsuite is amazing because it tracks your engagement, it tracks your reach, it tracks your sentiment across multiple social media platforms. So sometimes as brands and organizations, you might have a message or a campaign you're going out with, and you've got great intentions and you think that it will be received in that manner. However, the sentiment may be negative. So Hootsuite helps you track that sentiment and track what your competitors are doing, and also just to stay abreast with industry trends. And also table is also another powerful tool that can be used to analyze data. So I think in the work that we do, data is very, very important, because you can use data to inform your future campaigns, your future content, your future, even future focus themes that you want to be, you want to be part of. So I love that this analytic tool, it will give you a comprehensive view of your campaigns, of not only your campaigns performance, but also your brand online and how it's being perceived. So we're not going to go through the exercise now. I don't think we're going to go through the exercise now. Colleen, if I'm right, we are going to go to the case study. Nomti and Colleen.
Thanks, Millie. Yeah, I think maybe we'll just pause for a moment in case we've had so much content from our experts at Flow. We'll maybe just pause in case people have questions they may or may not have posted in the chat. And then, if it's okay with everyone, we're going to go over to the case study that's being presented by Kwanele on fundraising, hoping that Leonora is with us to present that. And then we'll do the group work right at the end. That is just to allow Nomti a little bit of time to assign you all to groups. Nomti, hope that's going well. So let's just pause for a moment before we ask Leonora from Kwanele to present her case study on fundraising. To just invite any questions today is an overview around communications, messaging, and the different tools. We will have time to take each one of those tools one by one. But I think already we can see the incredible power of these tools, and also some examples from what Flo has presented of members of our group here who are already using those tools very effectively. We've seen Malawi Human Rights, for example, Women in Law.
These people are not here.
Yeah. So anyone would like to just reflect on what we've heard so far, on your experiences? Please just put up your hands. It'd be good to see some voices. Earlier, Millie said it bandwidth permitting. It was nice to see some faces as well. So might be a good moment to just, if we can, switch on our videos for a moment just to see who's here. Any questions? Feel free to raise up your hands. Good to see some faces. Nice. All good so far?
Yeah, so there's a question from Tabiso about which one is effective between those three analytics tools. So I think for me, Google Analytics is, still the MVP of all the analytics tools. But I also think that there's no reason why you can't mix and match the tools. So use the power of Google Analytics, but also match it with Hootsuite, because there are some things like sentiment, you won't be able to get it on Google Analytics, but you will get where your visitors are coming from. You'll get where if Facebook or Twitter or Instagram is the one that's sending more visitors to your website. But on Hootsuite, then you'll be able to drill in more specifically into each social media platform. Who are the people that I'm talking to? Where are they situated? When are they actually available online? And when can I speak to them? So I think use both tools and see how you can, what kind of information you can gather from both tools. I hope that answers you, Tabiso.
Can I just add that also when you're looking at analytics, don't forget to use the native platforms to look at your analytics as well. Twitter, for example, is very valuable to me. I can go and see who the top person is that followed me in a month. I can go in to see the reach and engagement on so use the native platforms. They give you free analytics on your platforms. Use that in conjunction with any third-party tools that you are using for traction on your campaigns or your platforms.
Just to say, presumably, Millie, on Friday, you'll be taking us one by one through these tools as well, right?
Yes, on Friday, we'll be talking about all the tools. From tomorrow, when we start talking about Facebook, we'll start delving into Facebook analytics and how to use them. And each day we'll delve into each tool's analytics and how to use them. But Friday will be definitely dedicated to the tools and some of the apps that you can use to find free images, for example. So we'll talk about that on Friday.
Okay, I mean, pardon my ignorance, I'm the dinosaur in the room, but maybe some of these terms would be worth breaking down for all of us. I loved what you just said a moment ago around the native platform. So that would be the original Twitter, Facebook, etc., and then the other ones combine all of that. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, the actual platform, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whichever platform, they do have tools on the platforms, the individual platforms to track your reach, your engagement, followers, how people are engaging, all of that.
Very good. So we'll get to see those as we go through each platform, and then we'll get to see how we can look at them as a package. Awesome. Yeah, a new term for me was sentiment, measuring sentiment. I don't know if everyone else in the room is familiar with that, but maybe you could break that down for us. How do we measure sentiment?
So with sentiment, let's say you're running a campaign with 16 days of activism, and you have come up with a campaign that perhaps, I don't know, maybe it's a graphic campaign that showcases, GBV in this raw manner that people are, it's supposed to bring shock value. So maybe while you as an organization are like, this is going to be educational, we want people to see the real effects of GBV. And then everyone else who's receiving the campaign starts reacting negatively to it. And by reacting negatively, then they'll maybe not post a like, they won't share, they won't comment, or when they comment, it's all negative. So if you're using the tools, while you're doing your analytics, the tool is able to pick up tone and the voice and maybe like the unlikes or the unshares or the unsubscribes and something, and then it bundles that up as sentiment. So all the positive people, it will give you that out of this campaign that I've run, my sentiment was mostly positive at 95%, and then negative sentiment was 35%, and then neutral are those people that will simply not engage with your campaign. Then you don't know if they are happy or not because they haven't done anything. So sentiment is really important because it's a way to sense check you as an organization or as the brand that while you ran a certain campaign and while your intentions were great around the campaign, how was it received? And what did people, how did they perceive it? And that is shown by the actions that they do, either like, comment, share, negative comment or positive comment, and that bundles up sentiment.
Well, I think that will be great for you to unpack for us as we go through the week. And then just the other term, again, I'm sure more knowledgeable people know what all this means, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. Roy, you talked about engagement as opposed to just following. Maybe you could just unpack that for us a little bit.
Yeah, so often what you'll get is somebody has got 500,000 Twitter followers, but they put out a tweet and then people reply to that, and the person who put out the tweet doesn't respond further. So there's been no engagement from that person. So engagement from that perspective when you look at like a potential influencer to see how good they are at keeping the conversation going. Engagement is also very important to look at in the context of, say, Facebook, because you make a post on Facebook and you really want to see how many comments, likes, and shares that you get. For me, that's more that because that has an influence on how many people will see the post. It's also Facebook has an algorithm where they look at things like how frequently you post and how much interaction you get with your content, and that will then determine how many people Facebook shows your content to going forward. So that's where it's very important to think about how can I get somebody to comment on this post, to like it or to share it, and that's a lot more important than just the number of people who will see it. Because you end up sometimes having Facebook pages that post 10 times a day, but they're getting no engagement, so no one's seeing that content. So Facebook wants people to be engaging with your content. So that's why it's very important to maybe try and ask a question or to have content that people can debate about. You want to get people interacting with your content, and that because that is the engagement level that we talk about that is so important, that it's not, there's lots of voices coming into a conversation.
Okay, so maybe one of the things you'll show us too as we go through is how to do polls and things, tools that would help people to engage more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that Leonora has posed a question here about whether we could also look at Twitch. And Millie, you've said yes.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to just educate us all in a half a minute as to what is Twitch.
There's always a new platform coming through each and every day. So Twitch is a new platform that infuses a bit of gaming and platform analytics, and it's just been launched. And we're gonna look into it on Friday and see, because I mean, gamification, even on its own, is such a big wave to tell stories and for campaigns. So Twitch does have it has a bit of gamification and a bit of audio and a whole lot of analytics, and we'll look into it further on Friday when we are doing the tools.
Great, lots to look forward to. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. Any other questions before we move on to the case study? Okay, if not, great to see that Leonora's with us. Leonora, I think we're going to move over to your case study.
Okay, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, Leonora.
Okay, you can hear me.
Can you unmute, Leonora, and would you like to share your screen?
Can you hear me now, Colleen?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna try and share my screen. I'm on my phone. We're in like hour 3 of load shedding, so my laptop died. Nomti, also you have my presentation if I can't, don't you?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
We can see your phone.
Yep, that's what I'm hoping. Can you see my presentation now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. This is like a new level of presentation for me from my phone. So I'm going to just talk very briefly through the 2 campaigns that we did last year, one which was successful and one which was not successful, just so I thought it gave a good comparison. So for Mandela Day last year, we did a 1-day campaign, which we managed to raise £5,000 in 24 hours. And it was a very specific campaign targeted at legal fees for a specific case that we were dealing with at the moment, at that time, where we actually couldn't find a pro bono lawyer to take the case. So we decided to raise the funds to pay someone to do it. And then the second one we did for Giving Tuesday. I don't know how many people are aware of Giving Tuesday, but it's an international day of giving that sits actually during the 16 days of activism. And it falls right after Thanksgiving. So it's you have Thanksgiving, and then you have Cyber Monday on the Monday, and then you have Giving Tuesday on the Tuesday. And the concept of it is that you spent all this money on yourself over the whole weekend, and then Tuesday is the day to give back. And it's not as big in South Africa, but it internationally, it's the biggest day of giving currently online. And we raised this year £750. So it wasn't terrible, but compared to the success of our Mandela Day campaign, it wasn't great. And I'm going to talk through why I think a couple of the reasons for this were. So whenever we're planning a campaign, we look specifically at the planning is really important. And I think that's one of the ways that we fell down on Giving Tuesday. So we look at the time of the year, we look at key dates, and we look at the saturation. So for Giving Tuesday, the issue with it is it's a lot more saturated in terms of like you're competing with so many other nonprofits for donations on that day, which can be a plus and it can be a negative. Obviously, more people are looking to give, which is great, but you have to compete against a lot more people. So for us who don't have a big international following currently, that is more problematic. Then we look at what we're raising for. In Mandela Day, we chose a very specific thing to fundraise for. We were fundraising for these legal fees. Whereas for Giving Tuesday, we made it much more generic. So the story we were able to tell wasn't as good. We were just looking for general unrestricted funds, which I think wasn't as appealing to our donor base as potentially it was when people could relate to the story that we were telling with the legal fees. They could relate to the woman that we were looking to raise money for. And then we look at which platform that we're going to use. We generally run our campaigns across all of our platforms, but we just post different content. So obviously on LinkedIn, we're looking at targeting more like professional base and corporates. That's where we also look for our matches, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then on our TikTok and our Instagram, our Facebook following is not as great. We have a bigger following on our Instagram and our TikTok. We look more for millennials. And so then our content is much more like appealing to like 15 to 25-year-olds. And then we look at how, so we plan our strategy exactly how we're going to ask, what our ask is, and making sure that all of our posts have a very strong call to action on them. I think also a huge thing that we've learned is that all of our content is ready to post well before the time, so that the plan is in place. And that's where we fell down a little bit on Giving Tuesday, because we had a change of staff just before Giving Tuesday itself, and the content wasn't ready the way it should be. And in a day like Giving Tuesday, you probably post 10 times in the day, and if you don't have that content ready, it's quite stressful. So this was our Mandela Day campaign. So you'll see here, like the theme, it's fairly obvious to see that it's all part of a same trend, which I'm going to talk about a brand of a campaign in a second. So we told a story around this woman's journey. So she gave us a couple of quotes on why it was really important for her to have a lawyer come into court. We changed her name, and obviously this isn't her real face, but we looked on Canva and we found an image of the same woman, like, so that at least it gave the perception that it was the same person, not just a random person. Just because obviously we wanted to protect her identity, but we also wanted people to feel like they were relating to a person. So we put a photo, we put a quote next to it, and then in the comment section, we then broke down exactly why we were looking to raise money for this woman. And we told her story. We had her consent to tell this story beforehand. And she had signed off on all of these posts, obviously, because it's quite personal, this story that we're telling in this case. And then we, throughout the day, we posted how we were doing on the campaign. And then we told people when we had reached our target, and we said that if they still wanted to donate, then they would. We were very lucky with this campaign, whereas we reached our target just from 2 donations. So we obviously appealed to someone from LinkedIn, and it was a complete stranger. It wasn't actually someone who had donated to us before, which was very interesting. It had obviously been reshared on other people's social media channels, and somebody donated 90% of the £5,000, which was, yeah, it was like quite shocking when it happened, to be honest. And a lot of people were celebrating in our team. So when we do our campaign, we look at how it's going to be made up, and we use different platforms. So Fundraise Up is our donor platform that we use on our website. We like it a lot. It gives us great analytics. We can see who donates. We can thank them really easy. Thanking is so important, we found, in terms of just keeping people engaged. But what we found that Fundraise Up doesn't do very well is engage with millennials, because millennials like this like instant gratification of like, you know, posting a selfie, tell everyone in the world you just donated and feel good about it. So that's where we use DonorBox, because they're very good with the millennial crowd. So they're good at their like those thermometers that tell you how far you are, and like, look at what I've just done. I just donated $10 to Quanele to save somebody's life. I know that sounds really corny, but that kind of thing. And then we link all of those into our social media. I know the speaker before was talking about having buttons that you can donate directly through. Those buttons are not that easy to get. You have to have certain registration documents that we haven't managed to achieve yet. And especially because of South Africa's issues with corruption and things like that, it's even harder if you're a South African organization to be able to qualify on Facebook and on TikTok and LinkedIn. So we personally, as of yet, don't have those buttons on our social media pages. We just linked our campaign directly into our social media channels. And then we also run an email campaigns alongside this. So all the information that we've collected in Fundraise Up over the year, we then have a database of people to email, and we just let them know what we're doing. It's a hard balance. So you don't want to send out too many so they stop reading them, but you want to send out enough that they feel involved. So we did a little bit of testing on that. Over like a 10-day campaign, we might send out 3 emails. And then we would also send out a newsletter blast at the beginning and then towards the end, like, this is how close we are to our target. Help push us, up to the end. Your donation at this point could make a big difference. Again, looking at what those call to actions are. And then with all of our campaigns, we make sure that it has its own identity. So this, for example, anyone that follows us will see that most of our stuff is purple and we have a tiny bit of orange. But then in our Giving Tuesday campaign, we made it orange with purple. So it was very easy to identify that this was part of its own story. And you can see these are the posts that we posted during the day. Giving Tuesday is great. They give you all their own branding. So you just throw that into your posts, which is fun. We look at quotes. So just, people that verify who you are and how you're doing as well. We put that in our campaign. An easy, quick access. This is what I was talking about, putting the platform into the campaign. So for this campaign, we actually used BackaBuddy because we only just started using DonorBox. So the link is right there. You want the people to have as little clicks as possible to get them to where they want to go, because the more times they have to click on things, the more chances are that they're going to stop clicking. So yeah, make it easy and accessible. And then we find these kind of posts do very well, like 1 in 3 women experienced physical or sexual violence. Very simple, easy to read, especially with millennials who don't like to read very much. They get the point very quickly and then they can share it on their social media again. And it just, that feel-good factor. Peer-to-peer and matching is also something that we found is key to our good campaigns. So we have quite a lot of like young people that do fun peer-to-peer activities. You'll see in the right-hand corner, there's a young woman cutting off her braids. So she cut off 1 braid for each donation she got, and she posted a picture every time she cut off a braid, and she made funny videos, and it was easy and cute. And then I think she ended up raising 2,500 Rand over 16 days with this campaign. And it's just a good way if you're a smaller organization like us, where you can like ask 8 people that are passionate about what you're doing if they would do a peer-to-peer fundraiser. And in that way, you can now suddenly reach out to 80 people very quickly. And then matches. And this isn't something actually we've done well, but I do know that it works. Is where you find a company or an organization to match whatever you're going to raise, or like on the way. So with our Giving Tuesday campaign, we look to get matches like at 1,000 Rand that then takes you up to 2, 1 at 5, that then a company would match you at 5,000 Rand and take you up to 10,000 Rand. And then 1 at like, ideally, then you'd find 1 at 10 that takes you up to 20,000 Rand. And then very quickly, in very few donations, you're suddenly sitting at 20,000 Rand. And once you've got that momentum going, it's much easier then to try and pull other people in with it. Like I said, it's not something that we've done particularly well here. In my past life, though, I did have someone that committed to match exactly what we made. And when he asked me what I thought we were going to make, I told him I thought we were going to make £5,000. And I had to go hat in hand and tell him that we actually made £30,000, and he still matched it, which is, if you have that kind of commitment or someone to stand with you, it just very quickly can double what you've raised on your online campaigns. Influencers, so I heard this talked about earlier. So what we've done is we've built a group of influencers who we work with on a regular basis. Some of them are they're young people that are passionate about the cause, and we ask them to do different things. So whether it's share, comment, repost, and then we quite often do live streams with them, where we talk about the work that they're doing in their social media or online, and about what they're doing. But yeah, it takes time to build up relationships with influencers, and we're still like, on the influencers that only have like 100 and 150,000, like once you can get up to people who are in the millions, then you know, it's a whole different story, but it's a journey. And then key lessons that we learned on our journey was board support in our campaigns is critical. Like we noticed a huge improvement on the campaigns where our board also shared it in their networks. Matching makes a significant difference. Choosing a suitable donation platform for the type of campaign you're doing. So looking at who your audience is and whether they like donating on the platform that you're choosing. Separate strategies for platforms. So like I was talking about, LinkedIn has very specific content as compared to like what you would post on TikTok, for example. And that there's no such thing as too little posting. So yeah, making sure that you're posting 2-3 times a day during the campaign and you're engaging people. When someone donates, that you thank them publicly on the platform. We also reached out to a couple of PR companies who have helped us with campaigns and just given us a push. And we've also been very lucky with finding people to help us with press releases. So we have a journalist that every time we run a campaign that sends out a press release on our behalf. And we found this very helpful in gathering momentum. And then last, and I think potentially one of the most important things is thanking people. I think that you're much more likely to convert people from once-off donors into regular donors if you get this part of your campaign down and good. And yeah, that's what we've learned in our short journey.
Wow, thank you so much, Leonora, and also for improvising with the load shedding and just sharing from your phone. That's amazing. I think we've heard lots of people around the room struggling with power and power cuts and so forth, but thanks for just powering on, literally. I don't know, Millie and the Flow team, if you'd like to just reflect quickly on the case study that we've just had there and drawing out some tips to share with everyone. I think there's some brilliant tips there.
Thank you, Leonora. It's such an amazing campaign. And I think it's great that it had so many multiple different touch points. Because I mean, as to my point earlier, you had internal comms, you had social media, you had your Instagram stories, you had Did You Knows, and you utilize different forms of media. So I really think that it did your campaign so well. And one thing that we spoke about, which really touched me, is like thanking people, because people always want to find, we're humans after all, even though we are in a digital space, and people want to feel like something that they're doing is being seen and that the work is going towards a greater good. And when you thank them and you actually show them the progress of the donations and what it is that they're going to be used for, it really works well. And I think that, again, because you had a lovely set of images, which comprise of either Did You Knows or influencer reposts and normal posts. It helps people because some people don't want to look at videos, they want to look at images and they want to screenshot that and share it on their WhatsApp stories. So I think it's a powerful campaign that you ran, and your elements that you use for the campaign really took it forward. So yeah, those are my views on it. I don't have any specific tips to give you because I really think that you guys did a stellar job for this. Mel?
Yes, my feedback was just that was such an awesome campaign, and I really also, the thing that I liked about it was that you went and said thank you. You used your platforms where you're engaging on, you used all of them, and that seemed to have worked. And when you were very specific about what you were raising funds for, people want to know, they really want to know. It's very important for people. When I'm donating money, I know if I'm giving money to an organization, I want to know what that money is going to be used for. I don't want it to disappear into the ether, sort of, even though you're going to be using it for good. I really like the fact that you told people with the Mandela Day campaign what you were using for, and we see that worked. So really when fundraising, advice from us is tell people what exactly you're raising funds for. Make sure that they know exactly, and make it easy for them. Make it easy for them where they are. If they are on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on a donor third-party platform where you're donating, make it easy for them to donate to. I really love that. Thank you very much.
And just to add one last thing, which stood out for me when you were presenting, Leonora, the fact that you use influencers that are in your arsenal to actually help with the campaign is actually, it's gold, because you guys are raising funds for good causes. So you're not always going to get Charlize Theron to retweet you or Bonang, but if you have people in your arsenal who have lots and lots of followers, you can literally create a pool of influencers that you can go to, and you can have friends of the brand. When you've got a campaign that's running out, you reach out to this pool of people and say, hey, we know that you've got lots of followers in this platform, and you are a friend of the brand, and you believe in the work that you do, and you can actually help us amplify, because, you know, the more they amplify and the more it's seen by other people, without actually breaking the bank and getting a commercial influencer who may not even necessarily believe in the work that you're doing. So I think it's a great thing to actually see who are the people that we have in our circles, how many followers do they have, how can they help us amplify the cause further. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, and as the dinosaur in the room, I love the fact that you used email as well, you know, the convergence between all these different platforms, and you still have your traditional old database with your emails and so on. Careful about how many emails you send, but you still use that as well. And in fact, how you distinguish between the millennials and the different generations and what appeals to them, it really means that you know your audience. Leonora, Giving Tuesday, yeah, I think it may be worth, just for the benefit of all of us in the room, saying a little bit more about what Giving Tuesday is. It's an American thing, I believe, and it comes, around time of Thanksgiving, after, you know, those Black Friday sales and whatever, then people wake up on Tuesday and they do giving, if I understand correctly. But maybe let's just share a bit about that, because it is certainly a huge day for giving in the US, yeah?
Yeah, no, 100%. So exactly right. So the concept is that you spend loads of money on yourself on Black Friday and on Cyber Monday, and then you feel guilty about the fact that you've done all of this to yourself, and you then give money to charity on Tuesday. But I've seen it grow considerably across the whole, like in the UK now, it's a big thing. It's not only an American thing now. And I think in South Africa, even now, because Black Friday has now become a big thing, I think Giving Tuesday has increasingly become a bigger thing in South Africa as well. The nice thing about Giving Tuesday is if you Google Giving Tuesday, and you go onto their website, they provide all the guidance of how to run a Giving Tuesday campaign. They provide a lot of brand support. They tell you when to post, what your post should look like. And so I think it's just about choosing something fun. I mean, not fun, but choosing something that really would engage with like a specific audience, and then just giving it a go. That's what we did the first time. And each year we learn a little bit from it. And you just need to make sure that you post a lot over that 24-hour period.
Awesome. Yeah, there's actually a Giving Tuesday committee in South Africa, I believe. We can share details on that. That's popularizing the idea in our region. So, and I'm looking at the fact that Giving Tuesday happens just around the time of 16 Days of Activism as well, because that's when Thanksgiving is in November, if you remember, usually whatever it is, the third week in November. So timing is also good. So let's look at some of these hooks as we get into our campaign planning. I see there's a question from Polile about the matching strategy. Can you say a bit more about that, Leonora?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea of the matching is that so for example, for Giving Tuesday, if we set a target of like, I don't know, 30,000 Rand, for example, the idea of the matching is that it makes it much easier to gather that momentum to reach your target. So we always, when we're approaching people to match, and this is where I think your board is also critical, depending on who you have sitting on your board, obviously, but their network, is that we look at putting like some low and some high. So we might just approach people within our peer group to say, okay, when we hit 1,000 Rand, would you guys be prepared to match it? And even if there's like 5 of them and they all then put in 200 Rand, then we straight away, as soon as we hit that 1,000 Rand, we can double it to 2,000. And in terms of like social media, and then here your millennials and your instant gratification, right? If you can then post, say we've hit our first 1,000 Rand, and then you say, And Colleen and everyone has come in and doubled it. It gives that impact of like people like, oh, wow, I want to get on board with this now. And it's unfortunately, you know, the side of giving where people want to be recognized for their giving, but it does definitely help you gather momentum. And I think especially companies are very willing on days like Giving Tuesday, for example, to come in and match because they know that they're going to get brand awareness because of donating as a part of this. And then you get your companies to do the slightly bigger matches. You know, if you can get up to 5,000 and then you can get someone to double it to 10, it's a huge win. But for a company, just to donate 5,000 Rand actually is not that much to put in. So yeah, that's how we do our matching.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I think Millie now going to switch over to Nomti and see if she's had enough time to put us all in groups. Nomti?
Okay, hi everyone. So I've managed to put as many people in the groups as I possibly could. This is because some of the people that are on the chat that are participating today are not on the register, and some of the people that are on the register are not participating today. So I've really tried to put everyone in a group, and I guess when we go into the breakout rooms, whoever's not in a room, I'll just ask you to remain or to just go into the room that you need to go into.
Okay, maybe just before you send us all into rooms, we can just agree a little bit what we're going to do in those rooms. And also, do we, just looking at time here, how much time we give ourselves in the group? And do we reconvene at the end of the group work? I suppose that might be a good idea. If we go into the groups for like 15, 20 minutes, is that fine? And then you bring us back in, just for a couple minutes to close off the day. Okay. Millie, is that okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're going to the groups, Nomti, for let's say 20 minutes, and then we come back just for 5-minute wrap up for the day. Okay. And just a recap, why we're going into this group, the groups. This is really just a meet and greet, I think, largely. And I hope that you've distributed us as facilitators among the groups as well. We're trying to make sure that everyone gets into a group and that you're in the right group. So let's just know who's in the group, what organization from, what country you're from, and you know what the theme of that particular group is. We will then be sharing the sort of the suggested template for the campaigns. You have that on the help desk. It's there with the tools as well. We don't need to spend too much time on it. It's just to say this is a guide for you to put together your campaigns. But the idea really is that everyone in the groups gets to know each other. And I would suggest that during these the small groups, if at all possible, you exchange names, cell phone numbers, and so on, so you can set up WhatsApp groups or any other way you want to communicate outside of the formal sessions that we're going to have. But you will need to be working in your groups in parallel to this training, because we don't have a lot of time for group work, a lot of content we have to get through. But you'll need to be working together alongside this to plan your campaign so that you're able to present it next week on Monday. So we were anxious that everyone get to meet and greet and know each other. If we don't get all the numbers and all of that exchanged, it should be in that registration list. We'll work on cleaning it up before tomorrow, so that everyone is absolutely clear which group they're in, and that you can begin to start on that parallel exercise that is so important for us to get to a point where we can actually share these campaigns next week. So without further ado, Namti, can you send us now into the groups? It might be a little bit untidy today, but we'll make sure it's all tidy by tomorrow. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all the rooms are open now. So people can go and join the rooms. Millie, you can just choose any room.